So how can you solve a problem? Whenever I'm giving you a problem, for example, like adding two numbers, how can I solve it? Well, it is very easy problem, but if it is a bigger problem or hard problem, like how can you go to Salt Lake City from here? What is the solution? What is the solution? Is that
many steps?
Steps?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other ways? Any other better ways? You can take the train. You can take the car. Take a bus. Well, probably I'll take a car, but I don't know how to go. I need the route, right? Where to go? I can choose either interstate or avoid the highway. The two options, right? Well, now I'm choosing interstate. Which interstate? I-15? Well, so there is only I-15 here, but in Salt Lake there is like I-80, 215, and a lot of other short interstate. Well, I can take an I-15. Which bump? North bump or south bump? So there are a lot of information, right? A lot of instructions. Well, I need to take the north bump. Then which exit? I can take 271, 269. It's like the not the exit entry. So this is the entry. I can take this entry. And what's the exit? Well, depending where I'm going. If I'm going to Salt Lake Airport, I need to take maybe 3 or 4 exit or some other exit. And I can recall. So those are the steps, right? Still, I'm not going there. I'm not solving the problem. I'm just discussing, right? So whenever you have the problem, you need to understand it first. Well, I need to go Salt Lake, and I know it is on the north side of Orem. You need to understand it. Well, then you need to decide which way I can go. I can take the train, I can take the steps, or I can take my car. Then I need to design it. Design is like, well, if I'm going to take my car, then how I can go? This way. Either avoiding interstate or taking the interstate, and then I can take this exit, this entry. This is the design. And then after we're done with the design, then the implementation part. Then I can ride my car. But again, I haven't gone to Salt Lake yet. There might be a lot of issues. Maybe there is an accident in Lehigh. I need to reroute it to a local highway, right? This is the runtime problem. When I'm running the problem, there might be some other issues. What I have already designed before I start my driving, I may not follow the design. I need to reroute it. So then I need to test it, revisit it, right? Does that make sense? Okay, now, so those are the basic 5 steps when you're solving any programming problem. Now, if I'm giving you a problem like, well, add 2 numbers, what is the understanding part?
2 numbers.
What are those numbers? It can be float number, it can be integer number, right? Then design. What are the values? It can be anything. I can get it from the user. I can just put the exact values, 20 and 30, 10 and like 20, right? Or it can be variable. Like I'm expecting the data from the user and then I'll process it. And what is the processing here? Adding those 2. And what is the output? The addition of those 2 numbers. Then I'm implementing. Now, when I'm done with the implementation, that means I have written my code. I need to test it, whether it can run. Well, I have written whatever the code here. I would like to test with 2 numbers, 10 and 20. I know 10 plus 20 is 30. If it is producing 30, that means we're good, right? Now, if I'm putting minus 10 and 20, if it is giving me 30, it is not good. That means my program cannot handle a negative number. Somehow, maybe. That means I need to revisit it and then fix my code. so that it can accept both positive number and negative number, positive number and negative number, right? So if it is giving me 10, then it is all set. Now, in the third case, if I'm putting 10.5 and 20.5 and giving me 30, but still, I need to recheck my code. That's because 10.5 and 20.5 are not 30. It is 31. Is that?
It can't handle floats.
It can't handle floats. That means I have to fix it. That means whenever you are writing a code, so those are basically test cases. I need to test with those values. I know those are the ground truth. I can easily calculate by myself without the code, but I need to write those things as a test case. Whenever I am writing a code, I need to write those test cases. Before sending to me or to the canvas, make sure your code can run with those 3 test cases or multiple test cases in a different scenario. If you can handle, if your code can handle all those test cases, that means your code is complete. Only then you can submit your code. Does that make sense? Any question? So those are basically test cases. So let me go through here. So for the design worksheet, what you need to do? What is the program? What is the program supposed to do? Our program is supposed to add 2 numbers, right? Then what input and outputs are required? So here the input can be 2 numbers, like 2 numbers, right? And output is 1 number, including the name, data type, and example values. What is the data type? Data type can be a whole number or a fractional number or a negative number. This is our data type, right? So we need to specify those things in our design sheet, design worksheet before writing the code. Still, we're not writing any code. We're just working with our design. So this is the design part. Now, how is my program going to work? Here, what you'll see, what concept can I use from my class? So right now, you don't need to find any concept from the class to add those 2 numbers. But later on, you need to find out what concept can I use from my class. Maybe you are learning conditionals or looping. Can you use looping here? So those are the questions when you are designing some complex problem. What is the pseudocode algorithm? Again, what is the algorithm? Sets of instruction. What is the pseudocode? Not the original code. The pseudo, right? If you can write a pseudocode, you can easily write the main code. Like you know the steps. So that if you follow every step, you can write the code. Does that make sense? No or yes? Okay. And then again, I told you about the test cases using the specific input and output values like the ones I come up with number 2 here, like 10 and 20. What 3 test cases could I use to show that my program is correct and complete? So those are the test cases. Right? So whenever you are designing a problem, you need to follow those instructions. Maybe on your mind or on a paper and pencil. Now, another way to design is like a flow chart. What is the flow chart? Flow chart is like you are writing the step-by-step instruction, but they are in a flow. This, then that, then that. Instead of writing those things, this is like a pictorial view. I'm not sure if you have read this flowchart reading. I just have mentioned everything here. Then what you need to do with the flowchart? What is a flowchart? What is the symbol of a flowchart? So whenever you start a problem or end a problem, it could be an oval, but right now it's a circle. It could be an oval. Then whenever there is a process, that could be a rectangle, not a square. Then input and output should be a parallelogram, not a square. Whenever there is a decision, like whether I can take the car or the train, then there is a decision. Whenever there's a flow line, they are the arrows. Like I have shown here, check whether a number is positive or negative. So these are the instructions. Oh, I would like to add, I would like to use the add two numbers. So adding two number, these are the instructions. And in the pictorial view, I have written this way. We have started. I know there are two inputs here. So this is the first input, this is the second input, and the input and output are parallelogram, right? But right now they are not the parallelogram, it should be parallelogram. Sorry, the process is parallelogram. I need to recheck those things. There's a link here. You can find the reading materials all in one here. I just put everything here for this module, starting from the history, then the CS fundamentals, then flowchart, just put some link here. There's the link. You can go to those links for detailed information. Okay. Input and output are parallelogram like this way. Actions are like rectangle. Decisions are diamond. We're not using those things. Flow lines are just arrow. So this is like an example of two numbers, which one is larger? Let me make it bigger. Okay. So what is our task here? We have two numbers from the user. Display the largest of two numbers. Okay. Starting from here, we have two numbers, number one and number two. And then I have a decision here. Which one is bigger, number one or number two? So it could either return true or false, right? In this operation. So true means number one is bigger. So I'm just passing here number one. If it is false, that means number two is bigger. I'm passing here. As you see here, input and output are parallelogram. And process, I don't have any process here. The process can be a rectangle. And since we have a decision making thing here, that's why it's a diamond. Now, if you are writing step-by-step instruction for this particular problem, it could be like lines of writing. Instead, if you see one single picture, it is more easier for you to understand, right? That's why flowchart is really important for solving a bigger problem. And I recommend you to use this flowchart from the basic, from your first program, so that you have a practice of these flowchart things. It's like a pictorial view. Okay. Okay, so let me go back to variables. What does it mean by a variable? Well, it is not fixed, right? Yeah.
Sorry. It's like you store information.
Yeah, object is a bigger thing in this class, but yeah, you're right. So here we can say like it's like a placeholder. If we'd like to use any value, we need a placeholder to use this value. So that's the way I say it's a placeholder. And in Python, whenever you are writing a variable name, it has some rules. What are the rules? These are the rules. It needs to be start with a letter or underscore. Cannot start with a number. Like this one is correct. Variable. Underscore variable is correct, but one variable is not correct. It's the naming convention, not the convention rule. You need to follow these rules. If you're not following this rule, probably you will have syntactical error. That means you're not following the grammar. We are not writing in this way, right? Like if I'm writing a sentence, I am going to school. That means either your caps lock is on or you're not following the grammar. That means first letter or the first letter of the word should be in a capital or uppercase, right? This is our convention in English grammar. The same way in Python, the convention is you cannot write a number at the very first point. It can start with a character or an underscore. The second convention is like if I have a large variable name, for example, like how I can go to Salt Lake can be a variable name. Then how can I write this name? Or the way of going. There are like 3 words. You cannot write the space here. You cannot write a dash here. So how you can separate those 2 things? Like I would like to write here like my share. My share is a variable. But if you put a space, it will raise an error. This is not the variable naming rule. You cannot write a dash. So to replace this space, you could use an underscore. It's like shift and negative sign, underscore, to replace the spaces. Just like this, you can write this with a variable. You can put some number here, but not like dash or some special character. Okay. You cannot use a Python keyword. What is a Python keyword? That means Python grammar has their own keyword. How can you find those keywords? So if you go to Python keywords, testing. So those are the Python keywords. You cannot use those keywords as a variable name. You cannot write and as a variable name. Why?
Grammar check rule.
Grammar check?
Yeah, the grammar check rule will just yell at you.
Yes. You can, but it will override the original class, the keyword or original operation. Sometimes some of the syntactical like checker will raise error. Sometimes they don't, but it will override the original operation. For example, and is like adding 2 numbers by ANDing. If you're writing and as a variable name, that means you are overriding the operation of and. That's why do not use the Python keyword as a variable name. What else? Variables are case sensitive. What does that mean? That means capital variable and a small letter variable are not the same. If you're writing a variable name as this, like first character is small case, like the lower case, and then if you're using the same variable name later with just changing the first character as an uppercase, they are not the same. They're 2 different things. Okay. Any question about the variable naming rules? That means whenever you are writing any name, you need to follow these rules. And there are 2 conventions to write the variable names. One is called like snake case, another is called like camel case. So what is the snake case? Maybe I'm writing here a variable name called like share per user. This is my variable name, right? But I cannot use a space. What I can do, I can connect all of those things by underscore, like a snake. So have you played snake game? Yeah, those are, we're connecting those dots to make a bigger snake, right? So that's why we are connecting those words by underscore, making a bigger snake. What's the other way? Other way is called like camel case. So whenever we are calling camel case, it can be written like this way. That means the first letter of the second word should be capitalized. That means we can easily understand this is the first word and this is the second word. That means now if we would like to use the camel case here, this P should be bigger, the U should be bigger. Like a one word, but I can say there are like 3 words. Share per user. So this is like camel case convention, and the other one was like the snake case convention. You could use either one, snake case or camel case. It's like a programmer's preference. But keep in mind, for the final exam, final project, you need to use the snake case. But I'll let you know when it comes. But yes.
And can you tell us once more why we don't capitalize the first letter of like the whole?
Like this is like a convention. That means this is the starting word, and this is the following words.
You never capitalize the S or the
No, we don't do those things. But you can. But this is not the like camel case convention.
Okay.
Typically, when we are writing a variable name, we're not using capitalized one. Like, for example, I would like to write a variable like operand. Operand. So I don't write here like an operand. I can write operand. So this is the convention. But you could always write the other way. But make sure whenever you are using it, use this the same way. Otherwise, this operand and this operand are not the same. Okay. Any question? Yes.
Can you show snake case?
Yeah, sure. So this is our 3 words. Share per user. How I can connect those things? Just replacing the space with underscore. This is a snake case. Just like a snake. And this one is camel case. Okay. Any other question? No? Okay. Now we can jump to data types. So what are the data types? What is the data type? I already have shown you here 1020, negative 1020, 10.5, and 20.5. Maybe 1020 and minus 1020 are similar, but 10.5 and 20.5 are not. That's because they're 2 different things. Fractional number and the whole number. Whole number can be negative. There's a negative and positive things for the whole number, but the whole and fractional are 2 different things. That means there are 2 types of data here. One is called integer and this is called float. And there are other 2 types of data that we're using in the Pythons are Boolean and string. What is a Boolean?
True or false?
True or false? 1 or 0. Strings, anything with letter. What's that?
The sequence of characters.
Sequence of characters, right. That's the right answer. The sequence of characters. A character can also be a string, but this is a sequence of 1 character. Okay. So those are the 4 data types that we're using in the Python: string, sequence of character, Boolean, true, false, or 1, 0, integer, whole number with negative and positive, float, fractional number. Fractional number can be negative as well. Now, if you'd like to know the range, you can find those information here, like range of integer in Python, range of data type in Python. So I can see all of those. Should have. somewhere there is a range. Typically in a 32-bit machine. So do you know what does mean by the 32-bit machine and the 64-bit machine? So whenever you are installing an operating system, it asks you whether it's a 62-bit or 32-bit, 64-bit, 32-bit. That means it can, yeah. Yeah, memory basically. Maybe it's a huge memory, but it can access the memory in a 32-bit chunk at a time. That's why it's a 32-bit machine. If it can get a 64-bit data one at a time, like at a chunk, then it's a 64-bit machine. That means for the integer rate, it could be 2 power of 32 and 2 power of 32 negative. This is the range. Positive 2 power of 32 and negative 2 power of 32. That was the 32-bit machine integer range. If it is a 64-bit, then it is the 0. This is the positive range. This is the negative range. Negative can be 2 power of 64. Positive could be 2 power of 64. This is the highest value that we can use as an integer. Float is a different one. I don't know exactly what is the range of float, but for our projects, we don't need to know the whole range here, as because we are not using that big number. Okay. Okay, so one important thing that I missed is like commenting. What is the commenting? Why do we need to write a comment in our code?
So we remember it later.
Remember it later, or for the future? Yes.
You can create a structure for yourself.
That's true. That means for yourself as well, right? Yes.
If someone else needs to work on your code.
Someone else to rewrite or revisit your code. In that particular case, commenting is really important. Or sometimes you need to stop executing some code. You can just comment it out. Maybe your line number 30 is working, and up to line number 30 is working. Then from 34 to rest of them are working. 30 to 34 are not working. Just comment those lines out. 30 to 34. This is another way of debugging, but I'll let you know what is the debugging later. So why do you need to use the commenting? To explain the Python code for yourself and for the others as well. Make the code more readable to prevent execution when testing the code. And what are the ways? Single line commenting, multiple line commenting, and the another is called like a docstring. Docstring is a part of function. I will discuss the docstring when I will be discussing the function, but I will discuss the single line commenting and multiple line commenting. So what is a single line commenting? Maybe I'm writing some code here. I'm writing some code here. Maybe these are my codes, right? And maybe I'm writing a good code. Good code is like high. So I would like to I would not like to execute those lines of code. What I can do, I can comment this code out, right? There are two ways. One is single line commenting. Single line commenting is like use the pound sign. Use the pound sign for each line. Now, if it is like 100 lines of code to be commented, it's really tough for you to use the pound sign on every line, right? That means multiple line commenting may fit here better, right? So this is the single line commenting. The multiple line commenting is like the quotation, three quotation, basically. 1, 2, 3. This is the starting of the commenting of multiple line, and the ending is the same. This is the multiple line commenting. Where?
In your first set of 4 bold commas is.
Oh, okay. Should be 2. Now they are commented. It is the multiple line commenting. And this is the single line commenting. Now, if you'd like to comment from your IDE, you could use control and / comment it out. To uncomment, the same, control / This is the hotkey here. Control or command, if you're using Linux or Mac OS, it's the command. If you're using Windows, this is the control and the /. The single line commenting is pound, multiple line commenting is starting with 3 quote, ending with 3 quote. It could be single quote or double quote. Okay. Any question about the commenting? No? Yes?
What are the hotkeys again? Control.
It's a control /. Okay. As I told you, I already have written all-in-one reading here. You can find it under the course module, all-in-one reading. Here you can see all of those information. Starting with the history and then the CS fundamentals, then flowchart, our first program, then variables and data types, strings. I just have mentioned a little bit about the string, variable naming convention, commenting, the print function I already have discussed. The last one is the keyboard input. So what is the keyboard input? Sometimes you need to get the input from the user. So right now we are getting the input from the terminal, right? This 2 + 2 is 4. 2 and 2 are the input. 4 is the output. We're just printing those things in a terminal. But in case of using an IDE, how I can get the user's input? Like user can add 30 instead of 2. User can add 20.5 instead of 5. That means I need to get the input from the user through some functionality. And the function name is input function. Well, I would like to tell you one thing. What are the Python functions? You need to bookmark this page. Built-in functions. So those are the built-in functions. For example, like input function. What's the input? Input function. If you click the input, you'll see what are the details, what are the syntax of that input function. If you search for the print function, it will show you what are the details of the print function. So just bookmark this page, docs.python.org/3/library/functions.html. Or you can search in Google that what is the Python functions, built-in functions. So input is, what's the input function? The input function, what it is written, if the prompt argument is present, it is written to standard output without a trailing new line. The function then reads the line from the input, converts it to a string, stripping a trailing new line and returns that. That means whatever you are writing in the terminal, the input function returns everything as a string. Now the question is, how do you know whether it's a string or integer? Let me write the code here. So I'm just writing input function. I would like to write some prompt. Enter first number. Since it is returning something, I need to grab it. So what I'm going to do, I would like to grab it with some assignment operator like op1. So op1 is a variable, a placeholder. And why we're writing an op1? Whatever we're getting from the input function, we're just putting that to an op1 placeholder. That's why we're writing an assignment operator. Whatever the input function is returning, I am assigning to op1. Op1 is a variable, a placeholder. Let me print the op1. See how it works. He's asking, enter the first number. I'm writing 20. It should print 20. It is printing 20. Right? Now the question is, or the convention was input function returns a string, but we can see here a numeric number, an integer number, right? How do we know whether it's an integer or a string? There is also a built-in function called like type. The type function returns the type of that particular value. If I'm printing the type of the op1, then it will return the type of that particular variable. So let me rerun it. The first number is 200. What is the type? It is showing class str. That means even if it is 20 as an integer number, but it is not. It is a string. I can write 10 or I can write 10. Those two are different, right? This 10 is an integer. This 10 is not. It's a string. It's because this is the quotation. So that's what we are getting here. 20, what we're getting, like 200, what we're getting here is a string. It's because integer function, sorry, input function returns a string. But maybe for our case, we need to convert it to an integer. How we can convert it? There's some conversion function in that built-in Python function directory. Int function is converting anything to integer. Float function converting anything to float, not anything, if it is convertible. You cannot write hello to any integer, right? If it is 200, it can be converted to integer. If you're writing hello to an integer function, it will raise an error. And I'll show you what are the other errors, what are the error types later. So right now, you need to know those things. Integer, string. I think string is like str. Those are the three conversion functions. So now, op1 is a string. We are going to convert into an integer. And then again, it returns an integer value. I would like to assign that value to another variable op2. So op1 is a string value of 200. Op2 is again 200 value, but it is an integer. Let me print the op1 and op2, the type of op1 and op2. I am entering 2000. The first one is saying it is a string. Which one? The op1. Op1 I haven't converted. It is the raw one. Op2 I'm converting to an integer. It is showing it is integer. Yes.
Could you have a variable assign itself to a
Yes.
version of itself? So
Yes. Yeah, we can do that. This is like a reassignment. So we can use the op1 here.
but you're-
That means we are we're converting op1 and again replacing the op1. This can be done as well. Any question about the conversion and the type? So anytime when you are working, when you're not sure what is the type of that particular variable, use the type function to know what is the type of particular variable. Otherwise, you cannot add two string values, right? So even if it is 200, but it's a string, you cannot add 200 to 200. Well, what will happen? It will add 200, 200. So if it is like a 10 plus 10, you'll see 1010. It's a string. This is the string concatenation, but we're expecting 20. 10 plus 10 is 20. This is integer, this is integer, this is also integer. But here, this is string, this is string. We are concatenating to a string and we're getting another string. Okay? Those are the trickiest part here. Any question? No? Then maybe we can jump to the project. First, you need to read the project overview. I already have put the overview in the first module. Course orientation. It's like humanity rebirth. We are in a situation where there's no humanity. How we can solve this problem? It's a bigger problem, but it's a computer science problem, so we can solve it through our computer, right? So Earth is dying, toxic storms, and let me cancel the video.